I appreciate everyone's patience during this long hiatus that I had to take just due to a very busy schedule. But a lot of good things are in the works. I have a ton of artists lined up for IPA. And of course, there's going to be cool YouTube videos and projects coming out showcasing your boy, K. Jacob, and his skills. With many talented indie artists, friends of mine who I've had a chance to work on, some TikTok videos, a new YouTube channel with our dear friend of the show, Lexi. But for now, welcome back to IPA Sessions. I'm really excited about this interview. I got to talk to Chris George, who is an improv comedian. And if you're in the Chicago area looking for something to do on a Wednesday night, check out Keystone. As always, thank you for your support. Click that like and subscribe. Please rate and review this podcast. And welcome to IPA Sessions. Welcome to IPA Sessions, a podcast for independent artists. As always, I'm your host, K. Jacob, and this is a place where I like to try and provide inspirations for practical applications in entertainment. I have a really cool guest on today. This is someone who comes from the improv comedy world. This is an improv actor and director for a live improv show based in Chicago that they put on every Wednesday night. The show is Keystone, and this is Chris George. Welcome to the show, man. Say hi.
Hey, Jacob, how's it going?
It's going. I appreciate you taking the time today to sit down and chat with me about what it's like to be an improv actor and to direct this live performance show. That's all improv, right? Everything's improv.
Yep, the entire show is improvised. The person who taught me a lot about the show that we're doing in particular, he calls it an unscripted one act play about the dark comedy of the human experience.
I love it. It sounds so simple.
Yeah.
Well, man, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you, and what all do you actually do?
So my name is Chris George. I've been improvising since 2003, so over 20 years. I started doing it in college at the University of Southern Mississippi. I lived in Chicago previously from '07 to '08 when I was in grad school, and then I moved out to San Diego, California for work, and I was out there for 8 years and I did a lot of improv out there. I co-founded an improv theater and I taught at two theaters and I coached a bunch and performed a bunch, and I moved back to Chicago in 2016. I played pretty much all over town. I've directed and coached and taught around the country and around the world. Well,
Oh,
around the
wow,
world.
that's yeah, impressive
U.S.
though.
and Canada. U.S. and Canada around the
Hey,
world.
around the North American continent.
Yes, around the very specific two countries in the North American continent.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Uh, so you've been doing this for a while. This is a big part of your life. It's who you are. And
yeah.
I want to know what got you into this world. What made you go? Not only do I want to be an actor, which is a really hard thing to do. Let's do improv on top of it.
Well, I have no real background as like an actor at all. I wasn't in any plays in high school or college or anything. I had a friend of mine that I worked with at the movie theater, and we went to college together. And I ran into him on campus one day, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to this improv audition later tonight. You should come. You're funny." And I said, "Yeah, sure. I'm not doing anything, so why not?" So I went and I auditioned and I got in and I just kept doing it. It was a lot of fun and it became like a pretty significant part of like my college experience.
Nice.
And I've just been doing it ever since. I love it. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So, tell me a little bit about the show Keystone that you not only act in, but you direct it. It's a live improv show that you do every Wednesday. Tell me a little bit about this. What's this about? And as of this recording, we record everything in advance. Is there anything special that you guys have coming out? Anything like that? Or is it just a regular Wednesday show?
Yeah, sure. Keystone, we do an improv form called the deconstruction or decon. It's a very classic improv form for anybody who's sort of an improv nerd out in the audience. It is one of the original three forms that Del Close created when he made the three Mad Rituals, along with the Herald and the improvised movie. So it's like it is a classic OG mother sauce improv form. And it's not really performed an enormous amount. tends to be a slightly longer form and it's not like harder, but it can be more complicated, and it requires a little more rehearsal and attention to detail than I think maybe some improv teams are capable of giving to it. And this was one where the IO Theater here in Chicago closed during the pandemic, and then got bought by new investors that wanted to reopen it. As they were reopening, they were taking sort of pitches for shows, and I pitched decon, and they said, "Yeah, let's do decon. This sounds fun." Because as a part of
Awesome.
their sort of rebuilding of the theater, they wanted to like have some of these classic mother sauce forms represented at the theater because they're like, we're teaching it, we got to have, we got to be showing it, we got to be
Yeah.
showcasing it.
That's awesome,
So I,
man.
yeah, so I put a team together. That was in December of 2022. We had our first show in January of 2023, and we've been going weekly ever since. I think we've only missed 1 week in the last, as of the date of recording, the last year and month
Hey, not bad.
of doing the run.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for kind of taking us through your day to day today. Um, this improv world, is there a way to go about studying this? Is it something that, like you said, you just kind of went to an audition, and I'm guessing by the name improv, you literally improved your audition.
Yeah.
What is that world like? Like, how does one try and perform as an improv actor?
Well, the team that I was on in college did what's called short form improv. So it's kind of game based. If you've ever seen Whose Line Is It Anyway
Love
or a
Who's
comedy
Line?
sport show, yeah.
Yeah.
So we did essentially Whose Line Is It Anyway games. A lot of the ones that you would have seen on the show we did live, and then we did some other ones that like somebody read about online. This being back in the early days of the internet when there was not not a lot of resources on the internet, or if maybe we invented a game because we did invent a couple of them that we were like, this is kind of fun. We sort of enjoy the conceit or the spectacle of this game, and so we're going to play it sort of regularly. But I mean, I knew about improv prior to auditioning. I'd never really done it, so it's a fortunate thing of like, oh, party quirks. Okay, well, I've at least seen party quirks. I get the general idea of it. I think for a lot of people that get into improv, they go to a training center. So, like here in Chicago, we have a number of theaters. IO's one, as well as Second City, which of course is probably the like godfather of all of the comedy theaters, but also LSI, CIS, CIC. Those are all training centers that are here in town that teach classes, usually sort of leveled classes. The whole program normally takes about a year ish to sort of
Have
work
you
your way up through. Oh yeah, what?
have you been through that yourself as well? I know that you said you had never done improv before you actually got into it, but I'm assuming you started training through certain programs like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've done all of the programs here. I'm actually still taking classes too. I'm in CIC right now.
Cool.
It's my last one. I do it. I
Hey.
will. I will have completed the gamut of improv schools. I mean, I still take workshops and stuff. Even as somebody who teaches and coaches and directs regularly, like I'm always looking for ways to learn and new people to learn under. But yeah, I mean, I still take classes, and I've studied all over the place in all various configurations. But I mean, that's normally how people kind of learn it. If they're not in a larger city, they're probably learning improv from somebody who is more senior in the community, maybe somebody who's been around, who knows some of the way that things work. I've certainly gone to cities that are less established, put quotation marks around it, where there's maybe one person who studied in Chicago a while ago and then moved back, or maybe just someone who's been doing it for a long time, and more of the they're more than just like they know it sort of through oral tradition, and they're like, well, I've learned a lot, and I've practiced a lot, and I've learned by doing, and that might be somebody that you might just be in a group under that person, and that person be like, hey, try this, maybe this, less of this, more of that.
Okay. So, on top of studying and learning, traveling, working this show, I usually like to ask artists to take us through a bit of their technical process. without giving away too many trade secrets, I guess, what is your process like when you're performing on these shows? What do you go through?
Oh yeah, they're all trade secrets. All trade secrets. Uh, I will say that a lot of improvisers, the the tradition of improv has shifted a lot less away from the rehearsal process, and I cannot stress how valuable the rehearsal process is for improv. And usually that's followed up by people like, "How do you rehearse improv?
That's what I
I
was
thought
about
it
to
was
ask.
supposed to be made up." But
You
in
read
the
my
same
mind.
way that, like, a basketball team doesn't know how the game is going to go, but they work on technique, they
Ah,
drill, they scrimmage, they work on fundamentals, and the fundamentals are applicable regardless of what game is going on. And they're able to fall back on that sort of like nuts and bolts toolbox of, I have the ball, I pass it, I know where somebody is, I know how to shoot, all of those techniques, strategies, and tactics that would help them play. We do the same thing because the decon is a form. So when I say form, it's got sort of a structure for how and what scenes occur roughly when.
okay,
Still
and this
leaves a
is
lot of
for
room.
Keystone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
But also for any other form, there's, like I mentioned, Herald and improvised movie.
yeah,
Those are ones that have a set of rules essentially that go with them that sort of tell you the rough strategy for how the game is going to go, for how the show is going to
okay,
go. Everything
gotcha.
within it is improvised, but knowing that, oh, we're all on the same page about what happens at moment X. We're all on the same page about when moment Y should occur or how the show ends, is very valuable for the rehearsal process, and it makes everybody look like they know what they're doing. Um,
Ah,
so a lot of what we do starts well back at the rehearsal process. The team decon, the Keystone, we still rehearse 2 to 3 times a month, every single month. That's our rehearsal process. Some teams might rehearse once a week. Some rehearse less. But they in the rehearsal process, we're learning like the language by which we communicate that is not overt, that we understand what each other's doing, the kind of moves that we're making, when things happen, those moment X's, those moment Y's, trying to shape the show so it's not just randomly improvised, that it looks very methodically or intentionally improvised. So
right,
that happens, well back then, and also getting everybody comfortable with each other, that we trust that the other people on stage are acting in the interests of what's best for the show.
okay,
Um, yeah, and then when we do the show, obviously, if you've ever been to an improv show, you know that most of the time they take a suggestion. We're no different.
yeah,
So for a Keystone, we get a suggestion of a lyric from a song or a line of poetry, which sometimes takes a little coaxing out of the audience to get a line of poetry or a lyric from a song. But from that, we sort of get inspired in some way, maybe a mood that poem or song is evoking, maybe specific words in it that we're like, ooh, I like that one word, or that kind of makes me think of this. And after that, we're looking at our partner and we're just trying to build a scene that we're doing collaboratively. We're in agreement. We're collaborating. We're pushing back where necessary to keep the scene sort of theatrically dynamic, but we're cooperating to build some world on stage in real time.
all right, that's a lot to have to go through and deal with, and that's just
Oh,
the
it's super
acting
easy.
aspect, right? So what is the director part like for you? So you just took through the process of being the actor for this kind of work. What is it to be a director on top of that? What is your part when you're performing for Keystone as the director?
So, as the director, I'm running rehearsals and I'm watching shows to give feedback. So, I mean, I play in the show occasionally, but my primary role is running
Okay.
rehearsals and providing feedback from shows. So, for rehearsals, I'm looking at maybe the last 3 or 4 shows and looking at things that maybe we can work on, opportunities for improvement, things that maybe I'd like to see different, or maybe to kind of go back to basketball, we're not passing right, right? We're not passing the ball at the right moment to be able to put people in line to make shots. So we want to work on that skill to make sure that everyone's thinking about that, or at least they're subconsciously processing that idea while the show is going on. Because sometimes, I always think of and I'm probably going to paraphrase it incorrectly, but like, no battle plan survives contact with the enemy. In that same way for improv, no improv strategy survives contact with the stage, because we get on stage and we're just dealing with the problem we have in front of us. But we're so I'm looking at that and thinking of like skills that we can work on, things we can add to the show, things that we can refine, things we can make better, and then also watching the show and giving notes afterwards. Be like, this was great. Maybe let's try this. Let's think about this for the next time. As the director, I'm looking at individual skills that are going on in the scenes, because, like I said, it's got certain things that happen at certain times. So we want to make sure that those things look good or clean or are reflective of what the show is trying to do. And then
So
looking at the show. Oh yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was gonna say, just like your sports analogy earlier, you're the coach. You got to make sure that you
Exactly.
know the right performers in the right positions.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's cool, man.
Um,
And
and
I'm
then
sorry to interrupt you. Please continue.
Oh yeah, no, no, no. And as I said, looking at the show as a whole, because that's the idea behind doing a form rather than doing what in improv we would just call a montage, which would just be
Right.
a series of scenes that don't have any like rules about how they're being laid out.
Okay.
Anything can happen at any time, but we're not like moment X needs to happen at time Y. It's like no, no, no. We play the show, we have fun, but we're not trying for any kind of like ordered chaos at all. So for the directing, like, what's the shape of the whole show? How does the whole show feel? Trying to make it feel like a complete picture, because that's the other goal. Is like, we're doing a form. The form is supposed to give us a whole piece. So how do we land at the end of 30 minutes of performing and go, yes, the show feels done, and sort of resolved in a way.
About how long do these shows usually run? An hour, 2 hours?
So our whole show is about an hour and 15, but we do have opening acts. Keystone in
Oh,
specific,
nice.
we play for about 25 to 35 minutes, which in improv is a fairly long set, but it is about the amount of time that it takes decon to sort of resolve completely.
Okay, nice. And I like to focus the show on independent artists. I was going to ask you because I know that you started out, learning as an independent artist. You kind of just jumped into this and started doing it. But is the Keystone itself? Would you consider that an independent project that you were able to get together? Because it sounds like you said earlier you had approached and did a pitch for this. So that's all you. And I'm guessing you had a team of people that were also interested in what you were doing, trying to make this happen. What would you consider the Keystone? Is it an independent project? I'm just
Oh, it
curious.
Yeah, it's totally an independent project because we operate at IO. We have a great relationship with IO, and they've done good by us, and I hope we've done good for them, that they're hold their head up high, that we've not done them a disservice. But we ultimately are not like a house team, which would
Okay.
be the term usually used by improv shows to indicate that like they belong to
Yeah.
IO, which is to say that
Like, you
like.
would only be able to perform there, you would only be able to work for them.
Exactly.
Okay.
So and IO usually in that case, or an improv theater in general, would have like they would have decided who the coach is. They probably would have run auditions, and they also would have picked who the team was, as the theater. The theater would have said,
Gotcha.
we want a team that looks like this. We want it to have these people. It's going to have this coach. It's going to play at these days and times. In the case of Keystone, like, I am the director. I have people that are on the team, but like IO doesn't have they don't have editorial control over like who's on the team or what kinds of shows that we're doing. Instead, they're more just like, yeah, we like decon, we love that, and we're going to give you this space, and we've got a contractual obligation to provide a show, and then they kick back a portion of the ticket sales in return for us doing that show at that time.
Okay. Well, and I really do wanna, talk more about Keystone here. Can you share a bit of a backstory of how you decide to just start an improv show and get a company together. And I mean, feel free to mention your crew and folks out there, just so anyone listening, especially in the Chicago area. I want to know how this all came together. Can you take me through
Yeah,
that process?
well,
What it's like basically creating this independent improv group and putting on a
yeah.
show?
I mean, I've put together shows in the past for varying amounts of time. This was one that I actually pitched several shows to IO at the same time. Decon was the one that
Yeah.
they bit on, but I had a few other ideas, and I've got a mentor here in town, Bill Arnett, not Will Arnett. Uh, very common confusion for him, unfortunately. It's
Poor
Bill
Bill.
Arnett, and we've been friends for a long time. He was a teacher of mine when I went to IO back in '07, and he's been a very valued mentor for me because he's very experienced and he knows a lot. And he's someone that like we worked together, and then we sort of kind of co-pitched the show to IO to basically be like, we've got this idea, and also there's enough brain trust here that you should trust us. I had a few people that were like already on my list for putting onto the team that I had worked with in the past. Sammy Tamimi, Michaela McCabe are people that like I had worked with previously on other shows. I knew I wanted them on. Bill recommended a few other people. Robbie Appleton is someone who also went through like our through his program at CIS, and I had also worked with here and there in some projects, and then a few other people were ones that got recommended to me as a part of the first cohort of that team. So the people I haven't mentioned that were on the original cast were Alyssa Castaneda, Aaron Alicia, and Ruby Avina, who they were ones that I knew a little bit but hadn't worked with a lot, but I
Yeah.
knew that they would be good fits and they would help round out the cast for putting that show together. Um, After that, it was trying to get them in the room and teach them how the form works. Because Sammy is a longtime improv person. He's been around the scene for a long time, very experienced with the form. The other people, you know, as I said, it's a classic form, but it's not a form that a lot of people
Yeah.
do. So for the other five, it was like, here's how the form looks. Here's how the form works. Here's what happens at each time. And like drilling it in so that they know, oh yeah, we do this now, which is not necessarily something that people know to automatically do.
Okay. Man, that's a lot. How much time did it take you to really pull all this together and get it up and running?
Three rehearsals was our first show. It came together very fast because as usually happens in improv theaters, nobody has an idea until they have an idea, and then that idea needs to go up very quickly. The fortunate part is that improvisers kind of get used to working with agility. We're trained to be agile on stage, so I think we're agile to be like, okay, this is the show that we're doing. I will say like refining the process and getting the team to where like we were consistently doing high quality shows, that probably took 3-ish months until we were there. But I mean, that's also like we're still rehearsing regularly and we're doing shows regularly and we're constantly tweaking it and
Yeah,
sanding it down and realigning it here and there. And oh yeah, we do this at this point. Oh, okay, yeah.
I like that. I like that you're true to the improv. You did it within 3 rehearsals. Great job.
Yeah, well, as you know, many improv people have said that improv, the product is the process of what we're doing,
Well, it sounds like
because we
it's
don't.
ever evolving.
It is. It's constantly evolving, and every show is different. You know, like I said, we give notes at the end of the show, but like we're never going to do that show again in the same way that like a basketball team is never going to play that exact same game again. So we're trying to think about like strategies that are applicable for many shows, which is it's sort of a long vision into the future, and it means that like we're constantly making adjustments that may not pay off next week, but they should pay off, you know, within 2 shows, 3 shows, four
Yeah.
shows, and then long term, we're paying off big time by like constantly working on it and evolving it and adapting to it.
Well, I think that's also a smart way to get an audience to return. Like, you want a good show and you want people to enjoy it, but it's also a great way to get more people to want to come back and also tell others like, hey, you should check out this show, it was fantastic. Like, it's a really smart, I think it's a smart planning on your part to be able to create something that's like every night's different, you're going to get this show, but every night you're going to get something different from it. I dig
Yeah.
that, that's smart. um I like
Thank
to
you. I
ask
didn't
too.
invent improv. I didn't just to make that clear. I did not
I,
invent the
I know.
idea of things being different all the time.
No, that's just the world of improv. It just happens to work that way. I think that's great. It
Yeah.
makes the experience so it's like, oh, okay, well, I saw them do this. It's like, yeah, you saw how it goes, but every night it's going to be different. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and some of
Uh,
the greatest shows, that I've seen that are fantastic improv shows. One that tours nationally, for the improv audience or the maybe the improv neophyte audience that you might have would be the Improvised Shakespeare Company, which they do a completely improvised one or two act play in the style of William Shakespeare every time they do it, and it is there are shows that like when I watch them, I'm like, yeah, that's solid. The improvised Shakespeare is like they never miss ever. Yeah, I've watched them for 15, closing in on 20 years now, and I have not one
Dang.
time seen them miss on a show at all.
That's awesome. I normally like to ask too about financial gains with creating this. There it is. With creating this production, did you have to put a lot of your own funding into this? And has there been a financial gain for you? Do you feel like this is actually going to be really evolving into something that could be career for you, or do you still have to work your 9 to 5? And share as
Definitely
much
still
as
have to
you
work.
like.
Yeah, definitely still have to work my 9 to 5. It has not gone away. I put up a fair amount of capital in the beginning. The plus side of improv is that we don't have scripts, we don't have costumes, we don't have props, we don't have sets. So there's no money there, but
Nice.
the money that is spent is in marketing, advertising. I've spent a lot of money on like posters, flyers, stickers, little giveaway cards. Because that's really the only place in improv that you can really spend money and see some return on investment coming back, because we're not really going to buy much else other than that. The fortunate side about marketing, and also the unfortunate side, social media is a pox on our society, but also
Yeah.
it is monetarily free, but theoretically we gain stuff by posting regularly and reminding people that we exist. Um, I've not seen a return on investment yet. Um, I don't anticipate doing it. I've not sat down to figure out how much money I have invested on improv over my lifetime. I have made some money on improv. I know for sure I have not broken even professionally for the amount of money that I have invested versus what I have gotten back. So I love doing it and it's great. But it's that there are very few people, unfortunately, in improv that make an income doing it. And reaching those sort of upper choirs of angels is challenging. Most
Okay.
people who are improvisers who make money, they like, for example, probably the most well known improvisers are TJ and Dave, which is a duo. They've been playing for a long time. TJ Jagodowski is a very funny person. He's done a lot of writing. He is most famous for appearing in the Sonic commercials. Um,
Oh, I know the guys you're talking about.
car.
Yeah.
And then his partner, Dave Pasquazi, is also a very, very funny improviser who is maybe best known for appearing in some sort of small recurring roles in some TV shows like Boba Fett. And if anybody watched Lodge 49, he's the like bartender at that little lodge. He's like Saint Cloud, I think is his last name. But they are arguably the most famous improvisers in the world, and they made all of their money not doing improv.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
it's not fantastic, but it is what it is.
I mean, what the story? The story is fantastic.
Yeah.
That just cracks me
It's
up.
always funny.
Like,
It's like when I go to like festivals and stuff, and non-improv people like at work. If I tell them, "Oh, I'm gonna go to an improv festival," and they go, "Oh, that's cool," anybody famous I'm going to be there? I'm like, "Yes, but they are improv famous in that like Improvisers know who they are. Like Craig Kakowski is somebody else who I like
Yep.
really enjoy. But
Wayne
he's
Brady.
best. Yeah, Wayne Brady is one. That like they're very funny people, but like some people will be like Craig Kakowski. I'm like, he was Officer Khaki in Community. He appeared in like almost every episode of Drunk History, but he has no lines because it's Drunk History. He's playing like Abraham Lincoln or something. Um, like improv famous is not famous famous.
You gotta be a part of that community to really know.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, if you're in it, you're like, oh, we love him. He's so good.
Okay. So financially, it's not the best right now, but this is still in its baby phase. You're a year strong, so you're doing something right. You are
Yeah.
surviving. That's great. And hopefully, this is the year you start to really get those nice returns, and you and all your wonderful crew gets a nice little night out. You know.
No, I love your optimism.
You're welcome. Is there anything else you'd like to add about Keystone or just the improv world before we move into some questions here?
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I would encourage anybody who wants to watch us, you can come see us every week. But you can always go out and support live theater. There's improv all over the place in pretty much every large, medium, and small size city in America at this point, and they're usually very fun, and it's a great like club to get to be involved in. Like when you get to go watch an improv show and you get to kind of like learn the how the show works. It's a very fun entertainment. I wish more people got out to go see live performance, but I think improv's great, and go watch it. Not everybody has to do it. I put that as the headline. So much about improv is like trying to convert people constantly into students because that's mostly how improv theaters make money. But I really think we should be spending more time trying to get people to be consumers of watching improvs. Like, we can't make everybody a student. Like, some people, in the same way that, like, every person who goes to Steppenwolf, we're not like, hey, you should take an acting class. Like, some are like, just come back and watch a play. We would love for you to just come back and watch more plays, watch more shows, ingest more art.
um, so I live in Los Angeles, and I think out here we have the Groundlings.
Yeah.
They're improv, right? And that's where a lot of I know SNL folks and comedy actors go through that place out here and end up being bigger known
Yeah,
names.
they're kind of improv adjacent. Maybe they do a lot of improv classes, but their goal, in sort of the same way that like Second City is to make sketch comedy.
Got
So
you.
they
Okay.
use like improv as a tool to like create characters, try out scenes, experiment with stuff. But I know like a lot of the people that are in that like groundlings to SNL pipeline,
Yeah.
they get there through their sketch chops because I mean that's ultimately what SNL wants. SNL doesn't want improvisers; they want
Sketch.
sketch comedians because they are producing sketch comedy.
Fair enough.
Mhm.
There's no improv comedy SNL show yet.
No, there is, and I forget exactly when it was, but it was in like the early 2000s, and there is a sketch that's famous for one where the teleprompter died during the sketch, and it's like Tim Meadows and maybe like Will Ferrell is a doctor, and I want to say maybe like Anna Gasteyer is on there, and they're like going to see the doctor about something, but the sketch became improvised because they didn't have the teleprompters. And then they're not really memorizing any of the lines. I mean, maybe they might through rote, but they're writing those sketches and rehearsing them and standing them on their feet so fast that they don't really have time to be like, okay, I need to memorize my 50 lines or something. They're sort of driving off that teleprompter. That sketch is maybe the closest we will ever get to a nationally broadcast improv scene, and it is bananas to watch because it makes no sense. But they're all very funny, and they're doing a very funny job. Just trying to like teleprompters down, so we're just going to make the best of it. We got 3 minutes to fill.
I guess those improv, training classes they took definitely came in handy.
Yeah, and I mean everybody that's on SNL for the most part probably has improv training.
Right.
A lot of them that have come from Chicago and New York, I mean they've played at all of the improv theaters already. They've done Pitt and Magnet and IO and Groundlings and UCB. I mean they don't. they're not absent improv chops. They're not there for their improv abilities. They're there for their sketch comedy abilities.
Well, I want to move into some fun questions here now, and I really
Oh
do
yeah,
appreciate you taking us through this wild world of improv. So let's talk about some of the ups and downs, if there are any.
so many ups, so many downs.
uh, the first question I have for you, man, is what's the biggest challenge that you've had to face as an improv actor, maybe even as the director for Keystone? And it could be something that you're still working on.
Yeah, I mean, improv has changed so much post pandemic. So many of the people who were like relatively veteran people that sort of helped establish the like vibe of a community kind of left after COVID, and left for a number of reasons. I think a lot of them, they moved cities, they changed jobs, they got married, they had kids, they moved out to the suburbs. I think for a lot of them, they realized like, I don't love the hustle. And they sort of realized like, I actually kind of enjoy having my like Fridays and Saturday nights free. In a lot of ways for improv, I mean, our biggest problem is getting people to come to shows, both audiences and performers. We face an audience problem the same way that anybody else does, and we're trying to cut through the noise, especially here in a city like Chicago, where on an average night there could be 10 improv shows going on. We're trying on any given night, any improv show is trying to stand out as one that is producing shows that are of high quality. And my mentor Bill always, he kind of talks about, um, if you had if you had a partner and their parents were coming in from out of town, and you had to pick between two restaurants to take them to, one that you'd never been to but you heard maybe like some good things, some bad things about, and one that was like okay but was reliable, you would probably take them to the reliable one rather than take them to the risky one. It's just like the stakes are too high. You don't want to go there and be like, man, I took my partner's parents to this like really shit fucking restaurant. You would take them to the reliable one. So in improv, we're trying to teach audiences that like, this show is reliable. Like this show is reliably good. You're not going to come on a night and be like, maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. Like you want them to come and be like, yeah, it was another standout one. And then I think for the people in the community, we're trying to get people to like care about the shows that we're in. It is unreal how many people that are like relatively new to improv. I don't want to not making it an age thing. It's just like they haven't been in the community for that long, and they haven't learned how to like not be casual about it, because I think improv can evoke a casualness to it. Like we don't want our performers to be casual. We want our performers to like show up and be ready to go and come to rehearsals and not be like, "Hey, is it okay if I leave early? I have another show on the other side of town that I got to skip out and go to," which is a real conversation that I have probably at least once a month with somebody.
Why don't they just improv leaving and just leave Irish goodbye? You know,
Yeah, I don't know.
but
I would,
I
to be
can see
fair,
how that's
I would rather them talk to me than just like skip, because I mean that really upsets me when they're just like, "Peace out," I'm going.
okay.
Yeah, we just we want people to be good citizens. If they're gonna
Yeah.
be improving here in town, I want good citizens in my improv community who are like, they're not just doing the bare minimum. They're being good participants in the community of improv here.
I can see how that's a big challenge. I mean, because as far wanting to bring that to light more and get more people involved, both as audience and like you stated earlier, maybe even get interested in performing improv. That's a huge deal because myself included as one of those folks that like, as far as I know about improv, it's whose line is it anyway?
Yeah,
And I know that that's a game show and they do things in a fun way, but like you said, that's not every improv. There's different varieties and styles. So,
yeah,
but that's all I know. So yeah, I think it's cool. Like just talking to you about this conversation is making me interested. Like, all right, I want to look around my area and see what kind of improv there is, other than just the groundlings. Like, what is out there? That's
yeah,
kind of neat, man. So that's definitely a huge challenge, and I think for any artist is marketing yourself, making people aware and invest it, not just
yeah,
interested, but invest it. Like that's got to be tough. Uh,
yeah.
you
And
know,
it's from like a leadership perspective, it's a motivation thing. You're trying to like you want to motivate audiences, you want to motivate your people, you want to motivate them to do what you want them to do, which is always a little bit of tricking them in a way, but like we're tricking them in a positive way. We're not tricking them in a negative way. I'm not trying to
yeah,
con anybody or grift anybody. I've lost so much money on improv; it would be worthless for me to con anybody at
you've
this
only
point.
conned yourself.
Yeah, seriously, I've only conned myself, and I am a big mark for myself. Like we're trying to coax people into doing what we want them to do, which is always a challenge.
Right. Um, so you stated that you've been doing this for a while. You literally just walked in. You improv. You got into improv by just improving at an audition. That's crazy to me. Like you just walked into it. But you've been doing this for a while now, and you're comfortable. You got the training, like you said, one more year, one more course, I believe, and you've done all the courses. So congrats on that. You're
Thank you.
directing your own show, so you kind of tend to know what to anticipate. I know that you said with improv, you got to rehearse, you got to have a vibe for everything and what's going on, but it is improv. It's things are always to be unexpected, and I feel like this question's a little silly, but what is something unexpected that you've come across, excuse me, what is something unexpected that you've come across doing this? And maybe it's something that you kind of figured out right there in the moment, which I know literally sounds like improv by definition. It's unexpected, deal with it. But what is
Yeah,
something unexpected?
the unexpected things are almost always unforced errors. They are like invariably a mistake made by somebody scheduling. Almost always that like, oh, oops, we forgot to tell you we double booked the theater the night that you're supposed to be doing it, or oh, whoops, the theater is closed. There was a water leakage. You can't do. I know you already sold 30 tickets for tonight, but you can't do that now. Or I mean, the one that I have every like 2 or 3 months is somebody like, "Hey, I know we're supposed to open for you tonight, but we're unavailable now. We forgot that we double booked ourselves." What do I
Oh,
say? They're always unforced errors. I'm always trying to like think ahead as much as I can for at least the things I have control over. Because like, hey, whoops, the theater is double booked. It's like I have no control over that. If it happens, then I'm just going to be like, "We got the night off, everybody. Congrats."
problem
Uh,
solved.
yeah, if a team cancels on me, I'm going to look for a backup team. The fortunate part of being in a town where there are a lot of improvisers is that there's almost always a team willing to hop in last minute and do that. Um,
Cool.
and yeah, beyond that, if you're in the show, it's usually like an audience member more than anything. That's like the problem. That's like, oh, we got an audience. Sometimes it's like we have an audience that's very quiet tonight, and we don't know why they're quiet. They're just like we haven't reached critical mass for them to be having a good time, or they're just a little shy for some reason. Or you see that guy in the front row, the one who's like talking and commenting all the time, like
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. We got to shut him down. Like we got to be supportive that like thank you so much for, being a participant in the show, but like we got to dial you back a little bit. You can't be giving us so much.
that's wild. It's almost like what stand-up comics have to do and deal with.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, and that's a part of that world. It is a live performance show, so
Yeah.
um,
And to be
I
clear, like we want people to have a good time and we want people to like participate in the show, but also participate as an audience,
yeah.
not participate as also performers.
I think it's pretty cool that with improv you expect to be unexpected things to happen, but like you said, outside of that world, when you're dealing with the double booking or someone just can't make it for what they were opening for, yeah, I can see how that could be unexpected and having to just deal with it. But luckily for you, like you said, it's like, okay, well, I guess we have the night off. uh,
Yeah.
it is unfortunate, especially when it's a double book next. Like you said, you've already made tickets, and now once again those financial gains or financial losses, I can see your pain in that.
Yeah, yeah, we roll with the punches.
So, there are facts of life, things that just cannot be changed. It is what it is. It's not an opinion; it's a fact. And there are hard reality to deal with. But what's been a hard reality for you? something that you just cannot change. You have to work with it, find a way around it.
Um, um, let's see here. Something got to work around.
And you
It's,
improv, so it should
it's
be easy, right?
yeah. Well,
It's a
I mean,
cakewalk.
there's a lot of things that come to mind. I mean, just the nature of improv is it's mostly a free sport, and like that's just collectively as a community. That's just kind of what it is. There, as I
That's the
mentioned,
reality.
it's very much the reality. There are a few people who make money doing this kind of thing. Most of them are at Second City. That they actually make enough money that they can survive on that, as like a full-time job. I mean, the
Yeah.
reality is for most improvisers, we don't really make a lot of money almost ever performing. You might make some money teaching and coaching. That's generally the way that if you're an improviser, you're going to make money. And that's just the nature of the sport. Like in stand up, you might get those like $5 or $10 spots where like you make you do like 5 minutes and they pay for your bus fare or something.
Nice.
Improv doesn't have that. We
No bus fare.
Yeah, we collectively decided somehow 60, 70 years ago when we started doing improv, they were just like, nope, this is free, and we're just that's just the way the game is played.
That is a tough reality.
It is, and we just, it is what it is. I would love to see more improvisers get paid for, the work they do, especially if the work they do is like primetime slots, Friday and Saturday nights. I don't know how that'll happen, but I mean, I would love to see people get, compensated for their
It's
talent.
time for a resurgence. Let's do it. Come on. Get back to that first challenge and let's get the marketing right, It's resurgence improv.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You live in a big enough city for it. You could do it. It starts in Chicago. We'll spread it across the coast. It'll be fine.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So, we had talked about the unexpected, and in the world of improv, everything is to be unexpected. But what did you actually expect from all this? What did you want from Keystone?
Well, what I wanted and what I still want is a show that is running in perpetuity. That like, we own Wednesday nights at IO in the Weed Theater at 9 p.m. We're doing it with the long term dream that we can continue to do it and have fun and explore and maybe play around with other forums and go deeper. And just enjoy the ride. When I think of like improv teams that I idolized when I was first here in Chicago, I think of teams that were like they were so fun and they played forever. My mentor Bill was in a team called 3033 who just played every single Sunday night at 9 p.m. and I watched them probably every single week for a year. And I just loved it because they were friends. They loved playing together. They did fantastic shows. Really, really enjoying it. What I thought was going to happen is I thought we were going to do 3 months and then I thought we would be done. Because that was what our contract was for originally, was like January to end of March of 2023. And I was like, you know what? That's if that's all it is, then that's fine. I'm totally okay with it. I got to like stand up a team and make that team like solid and good and fun and have a bunch of good shows that I felt good about. But that we've gotten to continue to go is at this point, that's it's
That's
icing on the
awesome.
cake.
Right? Yeah, no, that's
Mhm.
fantastic. It sounds like you got what you wanted and are continuing to keep growing off of that.
Yeah.
I know it's not 100% what you want, but it sounds like you've made it to the 80-point margin. You're good.
Yeah.
You've made it to the 80 percentile.
Oh yeah. Well, we're already one of the longest running improv shows in Chicago.
Hey, congrats.
Yeah, most teams they stick around for 3 months to 6 months. That's probably the average lifetime of a team. That we have been going for a year plus is really fantastic. It puts us up in the like upper probably 5% of improv shows. Period. Anywhere.
Well, and again, it also sounds like a part of that resurgence for improv is you're actively contributing to bringing that popularity back, because to be going for as long as you are, you're doing something right. You
I
must be
hope
funny.
so.
You must be popular enough to get this going.
God, I hope so.
uh, what has been your most valuable takeaway from this experience? Something that's actually helped you grow and improve as an improv actor, as a director.
And yeah, I think my biggest one is like leading a team. When we teach improv, when you go through improv classes, there's nothing about how to run a team, how to be a leader in some way. We mostly teach people like how to be on stage, how to make up things with your mouth on stage, and like learning how to keep a group of people who have maybe sometimes conflicting, maybe sometimes parallel, maybe sometimes perpendicular sort of goals and wants and needs and desires, and get them all running in the same direction. This is the longest running team that I have coached now. It just barely. It exceeds a team that I coached in San Diego for about a year.
Oh
But
wow.
like that was also a house team that I was coaching in San Diego, so it's got a different vibe, and that like the people are just happy to be on a house team. Like they're relatively new improvisers. They're just excited to be there and they just want to play. This team is like they're mostly kind of independents that we've sort of corralled together, and just trying to keep them all like cohesed and heading in the same direction, and having like a common goal and a common unified vision that we're trying to achieve.
It's fair. I like that. That's a great takeaway to have. um, and I mean, it's funny because you're like, this is impressive to be like a long running show. And it's like, so your last record was a year, and now it's a year plus. It's like you really are doing something right, man. Wherever
Okay,
you go,
again, I
bring that
hope so.
resurgence with you.
I'm
uh,
trying, and I'm doing my absolute best.
well, what motivates you to do all of this, man? What's your drive?
It's funny. My buddy Sammy, we were talking one time, and he was like, every improviser is constantly chasing the dragon. So like, usually everybody relatively early in their career as an improviser has like one show where they get that show high, and they're like, man, I just want to get to that again. The feeling of like fucking spiked it. Like walked off stage like I knew all the funny things to say. I had all the right moves. The pacing felt good. We supported each other. Just what an absolute knock around show. And I was like, well, what if you're not chasing the dragon? And he said, sometimes the dragon chases you. And I think about that a lot. That like I think what motivates me is that like in some ways I'm hunting that high down, but I think in some ways like the dragon keeps chasing me, and it's not going to let me go unless I like dropped out of this thing altogether. And
Mhm.
even then, I'm sure I would miss it. Then I would be back chasing the dragon again.
I like that. It's nice. It's like it's nipping at your heels. It's
Yeah,
keeping you like you're still doing it. It's like why am I doing it? It's like I don't know at this point. I'm just doing it. There's just something there. It's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's no matter what. It's wherever you whatever direction you go, that's the direction you're pulled in. So
yeah.
it's a
And it doesn't matter like how frustrating it is sometimes, which it is.
oh I
As
bet.
anybody who's
Yeah.
doing anything, you got those days where you're like, man, this really bothered me today. But the days that I like it outnumber the days that I am frustrated by it.
All right. Well, I hope you keep that dragon on your ass. Keep it moving because you're like I said, you're doing something right. You're going a year plus strong. Keep it at. Keep up it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Keep at it. Excuse me. I can't talk today. Winding this down here, man, is there any advice you'd like to give to anyone out there looking to improv? Anything you'd like to say to anyone that wants to join you in this crazy world of improv?
Yeah, find one team that you really enjoy, people that you really like playing with, and dedicate your time to playing with those people. I think a lot of people they get sort of consumed with just like I love this improv and I just want to do a lot of it, and that's very natural and I understand. And as somebody who at one point was improvising 7 days a week, and I did that for a long time, it feels a little hypocritical to be like, maybe focus your energy in one place. But also, feel like I have the benefit of hindsight of going, you will be better off in the long run finding one, maybe two projects that you are truly passionate about and dedicating some energy to it than you would be being like, I'm on 90 teams and I don't like any of them. Because I mean, I see that happen a lot and people get burned out. It also be a good citizen. Go watch other people's shows, take classes, read books, but also go read other books. Some people get an improv and all they do is listen to improv podcasts or read improv books. Go read something else. Go watch a movie. Go outside.
Yeah, you still wanna expand that, knowledge and that wealth of information. Because if you're improv, you gotta pull, and you can't just pull from everything that you or from the same stuff,
And
expand.
I can tell the improv nerds who only consume improv because their improv scenes are about improv, because that's the only thing they have to reflect on.
It's like, "Alright, you need to go read some Aristotle and come back to me."
Yeah, you or even you could go a trashy, airport book about, like, hijacking a plane or something. Just go read that. Give me
You
s
should you
anything
should
else.
you should pull up some, Chuck Palahniuk for me. Get really weird with it.
Mhm.
Uh, man, I really appreciate you coming in today. Thank you for sharing this information with us, and taking us through what it's like to be an improv actor. And congrats again on your show,
Oh,
Keystone,
thanks,
going
man.
strong. Please promote yourself. Where can we find the show? And how can we actually get a hold of you and follow what you do? Because I believe you told me there's another project you have coming up that's
Yeah,
a one man improv. Tell us all
yeah.
about this.
Yeah,
Promote
so,
yourself.
yeah, I do a show called I Am the Show, which is, I call it improvised movie noises. So the audience picks a movie that I've never seen before, and I improvise the dialogue, music, and sound effects for the movie while it plays in real time for approximately 22 minutes. It's mostly a touring show for me at this point that I go around to doing festivals, but I got 2 festivals lined up. I'm gonna be in Madison, Wisconsin for the Endurance Improv Festival in March, and I'm also going to
Hey.
be out in the State College, Pennsylvania for the Happy Valley Improv Festival in May. So I hope you guys, and if you want me to come to your town and do a weird improvised movie noises podcast, I'm on Instagram at 00George. I'll come, have movies, we'll travel.
Have movies will travel. I like it. I like it. Is there anything else you'd like to add, man? Anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
Yeah, anybody out there wants to come see the show, it's Keystone Improv. We are at the IO Theater, which is at 1501 North Kingsbury. We're there every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. You can also follow us at Keystone_improv. And if you go on YouTube, I've started posting every show that we do, usually within an hour or so of the show being done. You just search Keystone Improv. You'll find at least a dozen or so videos on there now. If you want to see proof of what it looks like before you come all the way down to the theater, they're all up there.
Or just book a trip to Chicago, go have fun.
Yeah, yeah. You can come see the Bean. You can have deep dish pizza, and you can come watch the decon.
There you go. I love it. That's great. And I hope the only reason that the Keystone leaves is for becoming a traveling show, and then you can come out here to LA and say hi to us.
Oh hell yeah, man! I'm down. You just give me a call. We're out there.
Right? I'm all about it. I really do appreciate you taking the time today. So thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Jacob.
And for everyone out there listening, as you've heard Chris say it himself, it's expect the unexpected when it comes to improv. Work with it. That's your gift. That's going to be your talent. um, and just keep pursuing what you do. Keep practicing it, rehearsal, because even in improv, you've got to have a game plan. And I hope everyone felt inspired from today's conversation. And if you're looking into the improv world, hit Chris up, follow him, check out his accounts. And of course, all links are in the show notes. And until the next time, everyone, stay golden. Thanks for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, please rate and review, like and subscribe. Every little bit helps. And as always, the theme music of the show is provided by the Ericka page. And our brand new graphic designs are all thanks to Quality Artworks. Links are in the show notes. Go support these amazing indie artists just like they support IPA sessions. And of course, please follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. That's at IPA Sessions Podcast. And if you or someone you know is an independent artist looking to promote their work or just share their story with us, please hit me up at ipasessionspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, everyone, and I hope you're able to find some inspirations for practical applications.